He wasn't lying down. He wasn't buried by accident. In the summer of 2006, a body was found inside a glacier. He was hanging upside down, frozen solid into the blue ice wall of a hidden cave. The man had been missing for nearly 2 years, and someone had made sure no one would ever find him. Before we continue, please take a moment to tell us in the comments where you're watching from. You're part of this community, and we'd love to hear from you. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. July 2004, at 6,100 meters above sea level, Apex Peak National Reserve, Alaska, was the tallest mountain on the continent. Brutal, unpredictable, and deadly even to experts. Temperatures could plunge to -40 degrees without warning. Winds howled like jet engines. Beneath the snow lay crevasses deep enough to swallow buildings whole. Every year, climbers vanished here. Some were recovered, most were not. Daniel Carter, age 42, knew the risks. He lived in Fort Collins, Colorado, ran a small construction business, and had spent over a decade climbing mountains across the western United States. He wasn't famous, he wasn't reckless, he was methodical, disciplined. The kind of man who trained before dawn and kept handwritten journals of every expedition. But Apex Peak was different. This wasn't a weekend climb. This was the mountain that ended careers. Daniel prepared for months. Strength training, altitude simulation, route research. He understood one truth better than most. You don't conquer this mountain, you negotiate with it. And so he made a decision that would later matter more than anyone could imagine. He hired a guide. The guiding company was based in Anchorage, licensed, well-reviewed, and experienced. They specialized in high-altitude expeditions and provided logistics, permits, and Sherpa-trained guides. Daniel was paired with Tenzin Lakpa, age 33. Originally from Nepal, Tenzin had over a decade of guiding experience. He'd worked in the Himalayas before moving to the US on a work visa. On paper, he was exactly who you'd want beside you on a lethal mountain, certified, calm, and physically elite. They met a week before the climb. They discussed routes, weather windows, emergency procedures. The ascent would take about 2 weeks, moving slowly through glacier fields, establishing camps at increasing altitudes, allowing Daniel's body to acclimatize before the final summit push. Daniel paid $9,000 up front, covering guide services, logistics, and shared equipment. There were no red flags, no unusual clauses, just signatures and trust. On July 11th, they boarded a small prop plane and landed on the frozen expanse of the Northwind Glacier, the standard launch point for Apex Peak climbs. Base camp buzzed with activity, climbers from around the world, pilots refueling on ice, rangers checking permits. Daniel and Tenzin registered their climb and logged their planned route with park authorities. The weather was calm, clear skies, perfect visibility. For 2 days they checked gear, repacked supplies, and rested. On July 13th, they began the ascent. The first days were uneventful, the most dangerous kind of calm. They moved slowly, hauling heavy sleds across snowfields that cracked and groaned beneath their weight. Every step had to be tested, every rope carefully anchored. Each night they radioed base camp, location, condition, and weather. Daniel felt strong. His acclimatization was going well. In his journal he wrote, "Hard work but steady." Tenzin is confident, trusting the process. By July 17th, they reached a camp at roughly 3,900 meters. That night, the weather changed. Wind intensified. Temperatures plunged. Snow whipped sideways across the tents. Tenzin suggested they wait 1 day, maybe 2. Daniel agreed. Patience was survival. On the morning of July 18th, Daniel wrote his final journal entry. It was short and disturbing. Tenzin demanded additional payment today of $6,000. Immediately, cash. Says he'll descend alone if I don't comply. I don't understand this. I've paid everything. This makes no sense. That same day, Daniel radioed base camp. The call was recorded. His voice was tense but controlled. He explained the situation, that his guide was demanding more money, mid-climb and threatening to abandon him at altitude. The base camp operator advised them to descend together and resolve the issue safely. Daniel replied that he would try to talk it through. That transmission was the last time anyone ever heard his voice. The next morning, July 19th, Tenzin radioed alone. His message was simple. Daniel was missing. According to Tenzin, Daniel had left the tent during the night, possibly to relieve himself, and never returned. He claimed to have searched the area for hours, calling out, scanning the slopes with a headlamp. Nothing. Tenzin believed Daniel had fallen into a hidden crevasse. It was a plausible explanation. It also triggered a rescue operation. Rescue teams mobilized immediately, but weather-grounded helicopters, Ground teams ascended on foot through worsening conditions. When they reached the camp, Tenzin appeared exhausted. He repeated his story, showed where Daniel had allegedly exited the tent. Rescuers searched relentlessly. Crevasses, slopes, avalanche paths. Nothing. No tracks. No equipment. No body. On the third day, a violent storm forced the operation to stop. Winds exceeded 100-kilometer range. Visibility dropped to 0. The mountain had closed its doors. The search was suspended. Official conclusion: presumed fatal fall. Case closed. For now. The mountain accepted the explanation. Daniel Carter had vanished. Just another name added to the long, quiet list of climbers who never came home. But his family did not accept it. 2 days after the search was suspended, Emily Carter, Daniel's wife, arrived in Alaska. She listened as park officials explained the risks. Crevasses, storms, zero visibility. This happens every year, they said. Emily asked one question again and again. Why was his guide asking for money? The answers were vague. A misunderstanding. Extra services? Nothing provable. Tenzin Lakpa was questioned extensively. He remained calm, cooperative, consistent. His equipment showed no obvious signs of struggle. No blood, no damage. With no body and no direct evidence of a crime, investigators had little choice. In August 2004, Daniel Carter's disappearance was officially ruled an accidental death. The file was closed. Emily refused to believe it. Daniel was cautious, methodical, experienced. He wouldn't wander into the dark alone at nearly 4,000 meters without boots, harness, or rope. She hired a private investigator. The findings were troubling, but never conclusive. Several former clients described Tenzin as aggressive about money, especially near the end of climbs. Others said he had threatened to abandon them unless they paid extra fees on the mountain, where refusal could mean death. But none of that proved murder. Financial records showed Tenzin was deeply in debt at the time of Daniel's climb. Over $18,000 in unpaid credit cards and loans. A motive, but still no proof. Time passed. Life moved forward for everyone except Emily. Summer 2006. A specialized Canadian team arrived in Apex Peak National Reserve. Not to climb, but to explore ice caves. These caves were rare formations carved by meltwater deep inside glaciers. Vertical shafts, hidden chambers, frozen rivers suspended in time. The team leader, Marcus Hale, had spent decades mapping such caves across the Arctic. Based on satellite data, his team targeted a section of glacier on Apex Peak's southern face, near the altitude where Daniel Carter had disappeared. On July 27th, they found it, a small opening in the ice, half buried by snow, barely visible. Marcus and two teammates rigged ropes and descended. What they found would reopen a closed case and turn an accident into a homicide. 30 meters down, the shaft widened into a cavern of blue ice. Light reflected endlessly off frozen walls. The silence was absolute. Then one of the climbers froze mid-step. He pointed his headlamp toward the far wall. A shape emerged, human. Upside down, a man was frozen into the ice, head toward the floor. Legs bound with climbing rope tied to ice anchors drilled into the wall. He wasn't buried. He was displayed. The body was completely encased in ice, but the gear was unmistakable. Helmet, jacket, backpack still strapped on. Marcus immediately radioed base camp. Authorities were notified. The mountain had finally given something back. Park rangers, detectives, and a medical examiner reached the site the following day. Working inside an ice cave at nearly 4,000 meters was dangerous and exhausting. Every movement burned energy. Every breath felt insufficient. The medical examiner confirmed what was obvious. The man had been dead for years. The rope knots were professional. The anchors deliberate. This was not an accident. Then another detail emerged. The ice around the body was thicker than the surrounding cave walls, as if water had been poured over him before freezing. Someone had accelerated the process. Someone wanted the body hidden forever. They removed the backpack. Inside, documents sealed in plastic. The name stopped the detective cold. Daniel Carter, the missing climber. The accident, the closed file, reopened instantly. Removing the body took hours. The rope could not be cut. It was evidence. Ice had to be carefully melted around the anchors. When Daniel's body was finally lowered, investigators searched the cave floor. They found 3 critical items. A second rope, shorter, with one end cleanly cut. A scratched carabiner, not attached to the main rope. Dark frozen stains embedded in the ice. Samples were taken. Everything was photographed. Nothing was accidental. Daniel Carter had not fallen. He had been placed. Back in Anchorage, the state's chief medical examiner conducted the examination. The freezing had preserved the body unusually well. Findings were devastating. a blunt force injury to the back of the skull, fractured bone with internal bleeding, defensive abrasions on the hands, rope compression marks consistent with hanging while alive or unconscious. Cause of death, head trauma combined with hypothermia. Manner of death, homicide. The question was no longer what happened. It was who did it, and how they got away with it for 2 years. The answer began with something small. A stamp on the rope, manufacturer logo, batch number. Climbing rope manufacturers track every batch. Investigators traced it. The rope had been sold to a distributor in Anchorage, then bulk purchased by a guiding company, the same company Daniel Carter had hired. Records showed the rope batch had been issued to 8 guides that season. One of them had received 3 ropes days before Daniel's climb. His name sat at the bottom of the list, Tenzin Lakpa. For 2 years, the mountain had kept it secret. Now the ice was speaking, and it was pointing in only one direction. The discovery of Daniel Carter's body triggered an immediate reopening of the case. What had once been an unfortunate accident was now officially reclassified as premeditated murder and concealment of a corpse. Detectives pulled every document from storage. Radio recordings, field notes, photographs, interrogation transcripts. One name dominated the timeline, Tenzin Lakpa. He was the last person to see Daniel alive. He had a documented money dispute with him, and now equipment linked directly to him had been used to suspend Daniel's body inside a glacier. But suspicion wasn't enough. They needed proof that would survive a courtroom. The rope's batch number became the backbone of the investigation. The manufacturer confirmed. Produced in March 2004. Distributed in limited quantities. Traceable through corporate sales records. Anchorage retailer logs showed a bulk purchase by the guiding company, just weeks before Daniel's expedition. Internal equipment records were meticulous. Each guide signed for their gear. Tenzin had signed for 3 ropes from that exact batch. Still, defense attorneys could argue theft, loss, or transfer. Investigators needed something that couldn't be explained away. They needed DNA. Back in 2004, there had been no reason to collect Tenzin's DNA. He was cooperative. There was no body, no crime scene. Now they had trace biological material on rope knots, the loose carabiner, possibly the cave floor stains. But without a comparison sample, it meant nothing. To get one, detectives needed a warrant. To get a warrant, they needed probable cause, so they built it. Investigators presented the judge with the rope batch trace linking equipment to Tenzin, financial records showing serious debt, recorded radio transmissions documenting threats over money, Daniel's final journal entry, medical findings proving homicide, the deliberate concealment of the body. The judge didn't hesitate. A warrant was signed. DNA collection, residential search. The clock started ticking. Detectives arrived at Tenzin's apartment in the Anchorage suburbs just after sunrise. He opened the door wearing hiking clothes, backpack ready. When he saw the badges, his posture changed instantly. He protested. "The case is closed." The warrant ended the argument. A cheek swab was taken. The apartment was searched. And inside a storage closet, investigators found a box of mountaineering gear. Ropes, ice screws, carabiners, harnesses. One item stood out. A climbing harness with initials written on the tag. TL. More importantly, the harness fabric contained dark, deeply embedded stains. It was seized and sent to the lab. A week later, the lab reports arrived. They were definitive. DNA on the rope knots, match. DNA on the carabiner, match. Blood on the harness, Daniel Carter. Probability of error, less than 1 in a billion. Tenzin Lakpa had been in direct contact with the equipment used to suspend Daniel's body, and Daniel's blood was on his gear. The case shifted instantly, from suspicion to certainty. August 4th, 2006. Tenzin was guiding a small tourist trek outside Anchorage when detectives arrived. They waited until the group dispersed. When Tenzin saw them, he ran. 20 meters. That was all. He was tackled, cuffed, and read his rights on the trail. He didn't speak. He didn't resist. He didn't look surprised. In the interview room, detectives laid everything out. Photos of the body in the ice cave, DNA reports, equipment logs, financial records. They asked one question. "Did you kill Daniel Carter?" Tenzin stared at the table, then asked for a lawyer. With evidence in place, investigators reconstructed the night Daniel vanished. It likely began with the money dispute. A heated argument at altitude, exhaustion, cold, resentment amplifying every word. Daniel contacted base camp. That call sealed his fate. That night, investigators believe Tenzin struck Daniel from behind with a blunt object, possibly an ice axe or rock. The blow fractured his skull. Whether Daniel died instantly or lost consciousness remains unknown, but what came next was deliberate. Tenzin dragged the body roughly 200 meters to a hidden ice cave he'd previously noticed. He anchored ice screws into the wall, tied Daniel by the ankles, suspended him upside down, then poured water over the body, accelerating the freeze. A perfect hiding place, a permanent one. Detectives struggled with one question: why hang him upside down? It wasn't necessary. The theory that emerged was darker. This wasn't just concealment. It was punishment, humiliation, rage, a final act of control. In March 2007, the case went to trial. The courtroom was silent as prosecutors described the discovery inside the glacier. Jurors saw photographs they would never forget. The defense tried to sow doubt. Contamination, coincidence, circumstantial evidence. But DNA doesn't speculate. It speaks. And it spoke clearly. The mountain had delivered the truth. Now 12 ordinary people would decide what it meant. The trial of Tenzin Lakpa began in March 2007 in Anchorage. There was no spectacle, no shouting, no theatrics, just evidence, cold, methodical, and relentless. The prosecution opened with the discovery inside the ice cave. They described the body suspended upside down, frozen into the glacier like an artifact of cruelty. Jurors leaned forward as photographs were displayed, carefully framed but impossible to forget. This wasn't a tragic accident. It was a message left behind in ice. Expert witnesses followed. Glaciologists explained how ice caves form, and how unlikely it would be for a body to end up in one accidentally. Forensic climbers testified that ice anchors don't place themselves, knots don't tie themselves, bodies don't hang upside down by chance. Then came the medical examiner. He described the skull fracture, the rope compression marks, the defensive injuries on Daniel's hands. Daniel had been attacked before he froze. The manner of death was homicide. Next came the DNA. A forensic analyst walked the jury through the science, slowly, clearly. DNA from the rope knots matched Tenzin. DNA from the carabiner matched Tenzin. Blood on the harness matched Daniel. The probability of coincidence was astronomical. This wasn't contamination. This was contact. Prosecutors laid out the financial evidence. Tenzin was deeply in debt. Credit cards maxed. Loans overdue. They played the radio recording. Daniel's voice echoed through the courtroom, calm, confused, and frightened. My guide is demanding more money and threatening to leave. Then they introduced Daniel's final journal entry. The jurors sat silently as it was read aloud. A man documenting his own danger, unaware he wouldn't survive the night. The defense argued desperation. They claimed DNA transfer was inevitable between climber and guide. Blood on the harness could be from a prior injury. The theory was circumstantial, but the prosecution dismantled each claim. Why was Tenzin's DNA only on the murder rope? Why was Daniel's blood nowhere else? Why did Tenzin lie about the conflict? And most importantly, why did he run? A video feed flickered to life. Tenzin's brother appeared on screen from Nepal. He testified that Tenzin had complained bitterly about American clients, about disrespect, humiliation, and one wealthy climber in particular. The timing matched. The resentment had been building. The jury deliberated for 2 days. No questions, no requests. When they returned, the courtroom stood. The verdict was read, guilty of first-degree murder. The judge spoke carefully. This was not a crime of impulse alone. It required planning, effort, cruelty. Tenzin Lakpa was sentenced to 25 years without possibility of parole. Additionally, he was ordered to pay restitution to Daniel Carter's family. Emily Carter wept, not with relief but with exhaustion. Justice had come, but nothing could undo the mountain. Daniel's remains were cremated. His ashes were scattered in the Colorado mountains he loved, far from ice caves and silence. Emily later said, "I never believed he simply disappeared. The mountain kept him, but it didn't keep the truth." The case changed climbing regulations nationwide. Guides now undergo background checks, financial reviews, mandatory twice-daily check-ins. Equipment logs became stricter. Disappearance cases were no longer dismissed so easily. Apex Peak gained a reputation, not just for danger, but for memory. The ice cave was sealed, warning signs placed. No one descends there now. Climbers still speak of it in hushed voices. A place where the mountain gave back a secret. Long after the verdict, long after the headlines faded, Apex Peak remained exactly as it always had been. Cold, indifferent, unchanged. Snow erased tracks within minutes. Wind scoured the slopes clean. The mountain carried no record of guilt or innocence, only time. And yet, something had changed. Inside an Alaska state prison, Tenzin Lakpa served his sentence quietly. He never gave interviews, Never apologized, never admitted guilt. Prison officials described him as compliant, distant, and withdrawn. He worked in the library, rarely spoke to other inmates, and avoided eye contact. When asked about Daniel Carter, he said nothing. The mountain had taken the truth from him too. For Emily Carter, justice was not closure. It was confirmation. She had known from the beginning that Daniel would not abandon protocol, leave a tent unprotected, or walk into darkness unprepared. What haunted her most was not how he died, but how long the truth had slept inside the ice. 2 years, 2 winters, 2 summers. Daniel's body had been waiting. Investigators later admitted what everyone already suspected. If the cave explorers had chosen a different slope, if the glacier hadn't shifted, if meltwater hadn't opened that shaft, the body might still be there, hidden, permanent. Some murders aren't solved because killers are smart. They're unsolved because nature is vast. Apex Peak had been the perfect accomplice. No cameras, no witnesses, no noise, just wind and ice. But it was also an imperfect one. Glaciers move, ice melts, caves collapse. Secrets don't stay buried forever. One question still lingers, one no court could answer. Was Daniel Carter alive when he was hung upside down? The forensic evidence couldn't say for certain, but the marks on his hands suggested struggle. Fingernails torn, skin scraped. A man reaching for something, anything, in total darkness. The mountain does not answer questions like that. Today, climbers still ascend Apex Peak. They still risk everything for a summit photo, a personal victory, a line in a journal. But guides check in more often now. Conflicts are reported immediately, and no one laughs off fear as easily as they once did. Because everyone remembers what was found inside the glacier. Daniel Carter did not disappear. He was taken, hidden, silenced. But in the end, the mountain returned him. And in doing so, it delivered a final message. One written not in words, but in ice. Nothing buried in silence stays hidden forever.